You have not arrived here by accident. You were drawn by a quiet pull that does not speak in language, only in recognition. Something within you already remembers what this path holds. This work does not call the many, it calls the ready. You are here because silence has already begun to speak to you. Before wealth had names, before power was measured, before desire learned how to shout, abundance moved softly through the world. It traveled as breath through leaves. It waited beneath soil. It formed in darkness long before it reached light. Those who understood this did not announce their knowing. They listened. They tended. They kept sacred what was still forming. This audiobook is not meant to be consumed. It is meant to be entered. Each word is a threshold. Each pause is an instruction. You were not asked to believe anything. You were invited to remember what your inner world has always known, that all true abundance begins, grows, and multiplies in silence. As you listen, you step into a lineage older than effort and untouched by noise. The quiet craftsmen of ancient guilds, the alchemists who worked behind sealed doors, the mystics who carried kingdoms within them while appearing unseen. They understood that revelation weakens when exposed too early. They understood that growth requires darkness. They understood that the universe responds most fully to what is whispered inwardly. This is not a teaching for the outer world. Nothing here is meant to be displayed, explained, or defended. Every practice you encounter is meant to be done unseen. Every realization is meant to settle inwardly. Secrecy is not fear, it is reverence. Solitude is not isolation, it is incubation. As you move forward, you will be asked to slow. You will be asked to withdraw attention from places that drain it. You will be guided to perform acts that leave no trace except within you. This is how prosperity becomes stable. This is how it becomes yours. If at any moment you feel resistance, honor it. Resistance often guards a threshold. If at any moment you feel peace, honor that too. Peace is recognition. Let the words move through you without grasping. Let the pauses teach you what language cannot. You are entering a sacred economy, one where energy is conserved, intention is sealed, and timing is obeyed. One where wealth does not arrive through force, but through alignment. One where silence is not empty, but fertile. Begin now by settling your breath. Let your body soften. Let your inner voice quiet. The door is already open. Step through without announcement. You enter this first chamber quietly. Nothing announces your arrival. Nothing witnesses it but you. This is how all true beginnings occur. The first principle of the law of silent abundance is simple, ancient, and easily overlooked. Prosperity does not respond to effort alone. It responds to identity. What you silently assume yourself to be becomes the pattern the universe follows. Before action, before strategy, before ritual, there is an inner agreement you carry about who you are allowed to be. Most people attempt to change outcomes while leaving identity untouched. They ask for wealth while secretly identifying as one who waits, hopes, struggles, or proves. The universe does not answer requests spoken from division. It mirrors the deepest self-image held in stillness. You are now invited into mirror work, not the mirror of glass, but the inner mirror that never lies. There is an ancient story of a stonecutter who lived in the mountains and worked alone. Each day he shaped stone with patience and precision. Travelers passed him often, unaware of his skill. They saw only dust and effort. What they did not know was that the stonecutter had already decided who he was long before the world noticed. He did not see himself as one who labored. He saw himself as one who shaped permanence. His hands obeyed that knowing. The stone obeyed his hands. Eventually, temples bore his mark, though his name was never spoken. Identity precedes evidence. The first work of silent abundance is to withdraw from all outer reflection and turn inward.
Not to criticize, not to analyze, but to witness what you already assume about yourself when no one is watching. You carry silent statements within you. They rise when you wake. They move beneath your thoughts. They shape how you walk into a room. They determine what feels possible without debate. These statements are rarely spoken aloud, yet they are heard clearly by the unseen currents that shape circumstance. You do not need to fight these assumptions. You need to observe them. This chapter invites you into a private ritual of recognition. Choose a time when you will not be interrupted. Early morning or late night carries less residue from the world. Sit or stand comfortably. Close your eyes. Let the breath slow naturally. Do not control it. Simply allow it to settle. Now imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your appearance, but your self-concept. This mirror shows how you see yourself in moments of honesty. Let the image form without force. Notice what is present. Notice posture. Notice expression. Notice the energy this version of you carries. Do not judge it. Observation is enough. Now listen inwardly. What unspoken phrases arise? You may sense them rather than hear them. Phrases like, I am allowed, I am behind, I am chosen, I must struggle, I always find a way, I am unseen, I am supported. Whatever appears is information. This is the soil from which your material life grows. The law of silent abundance teaches that identity is not changed through affirmation shouted at the mind. It is changed through assumption felt as truth, quietly, repeatedly, privately. You are not asked to deny your current experience. You are asked to select a deeper reference point. Choose one identity statement that feels expansive but calm, not dramatic, not forced. It should feel like recognition rather than ambition. Examples may arise naturally within you. I am one who is provided for. I am one whose work is valued. I am one who moves with divine timing. Let the wording be your own. Now return to the inner mirror. See yourself wearing this identity as if it were already natural. Notice how posture shifts. Notice how breath responds. Notice how effort dissolves. This is not imagination for entertainment. This is rehearsal for reality. The universe responds to practiced assumption. Spend several minutes here. Let the identity settle into the body. Let it feel ordinary, familiar, undramatic. This is key. Abundance that feels extraordinary does not stabilize. Abundance that feels normal multiplies. There is a reason ancient initiates practiced in silence. Speaking too early fractures identity before it takes root. When you keep this work private, it deepens. When you protect it, it strengthens. As you return from the mirror, carry this identity into small, invisible actions. How you prepare a meal, how you organize your space, how you walk when no one is watching. These moments are not insignificant. They are confirmations. A quiet shift in self-concept alters choices without effort. Opportunities align without pursuit. Support arrives without announcement. This is not coincidence. This is coherence. The stonecutter never waited for recognition to feel skilled. He felt skilled and recognition eventually followed, or did not, and his abundance remained intact. Your task is not to convince the world. Your task is to agree with yourself. Close this chapter by sealing the identity you chose. Place a hand over your chest. Breathe slowly. Speak the identity inwardly once without sound. Let it drop into silence. Do not revisit it with doubt. Do not discuss it with others. Let it work on your behalf in ways unseen. Silence is not absence, it is authority. You step further inward now. What was named within you in the previous chamber begins to settle. Identity has been selected, not announced, not displayed. It now waits for confirmation through action that leaves no echo. The second principle of the law of silent abundance is invisible action. The universe responds not only to what you assume, but to what you do when there is no witness. Action performed without audience carries a different frequency. It is uncorrupted by performance. It is pure alignment. This is why unseen effort often produces disproportionate results. There is an old parable of a gardener who tended a hidden courtyard behind high stone walls. No one saw him work. No one praised the soil he turned each morning. Yet travelers spoke of a fragrance that drifted through the city at dawn. They never found its source. The garden thrived because it was never disturbed by opinion. Invisible action creates energetic stability. When actions are performed for recognition, energy leaks outward. When actions are performed in silence, energy consolidates inward. Abundance grows best where energy is contained. Most people attempt to manifest while broadcasting every step. They speak plans before roots form. They seek validation before alignment stabilizes. The law of silent abundance teaches restraint, not suppression, precision. You are invited now into a practice of deliberate invisibility. Begin by identifying one area of your life where effort has been public. This may involve work, creativity, learning, or self-improvement. Notice how much energy is spent explaining, updating, or proving progress. Now choose one action related to prosperity that you will perform consistently without telling anyone. It must be small enough to sustain, yet meaningful enough to carry intention. Examples may arise naturally: studying quietly, saving deliberately, refining a skill daily, organizing resources, preparing space. The form matters less than the secrecy. This action becomes a private covenant. Perform it at the same time each day if possible. Consistency anchors energy. Timing teaches discipline without force. As you perform the action, do not rush, do not dramatize. Let it feel ordinary. Let it feel almost unimportant. This is how power hides. There's a reason seeds are planted underground. During the action, keep your attention inward. Feel the identity you assumed in the first chapter moving through the body. Let the action confirm the identity without commentary. This is not about productivity, it is about coherence. There will be moments when the mind asks for proof. When is this working? Why is nothing changing yet? These questions are signs of outward orientation. Gently return attention to the action itself. Results mature in silence long before they appear. Ancient initiates were taught to work without witnesses for years, not because the work was small, but because timing was sacred. Premature exposure diluted potency. Invisible action trains patience. Patience is not waiting, it is trust without tension. You may notice subtle shifts, a calm certainty, reduced urgency, fewer explanations. These are signs of alignment. Honor them quietly. There is also a protective quality to invisible action. Doubt from others cannot reach what they do not know exists. Comparison dissolves, pressure fades. Your path remains undisturbed. This chapter includes a simple ritual to seal the practice. At the end of your chosen action each day, pause for a brief moment. Place both feet on the ground. Take one slow breath. Inwardly acknowledge the action without praise. Simply recognize completion. Then release it completely. Do not carry it into thought. Do not review it. Let it rest. This teaches the nervous system that effort does not require anxiety. It teaches the unconscious that abundance flows without struggle. The gardener did not check the soil every hour. He trusted the rhythm he established. The fragrance arrived on its own. As days pass, resist the urge to expand the action too quickly. Depth precedes scale. Power accumulates through repetition, not intensity. If you miss a day, do not compensate. Resume quietly the next day. Guilt is noise. Noise fractures alignment. Invisible action is not passive. It is deliberate restraint. You are learning to move without ripples, to build without announcement, to grow without exposure. This is how structures last. Close this chapter by affirming inwardly, once without sound, what I build in silence remains protected. Let the words dissolve immediately after they are felt. Do not repeat them. Repetition belongs to the next chapter. You are not meant to hurry. You are meant to deepen.
You move now into a deeper chamber. Here, the work becomes quieter still. Identity has been assumed. Action has been sealed in secrecy. What remains is purification of motive. This is where many turn away without knowing why, yet this is where multiplication begins. The third principle of the law of silent abundance is silent giving. Giving that is seen creates movement. Giving that is unseen creates expansion. There is a subtle difference. When giving seeks acknowledgement, it circulates energy outward. When giving is done without witness, it alters the inner field from which abundance flows. The universe responds not to generosity alone, but to the quality of surrender behind it. In ancient teachings, offerings were placed at night, not to hide them from others, but to protect the giver from pride. What you protect from pride gains weight. What gains weight attracts stability. Silent giving is not sacrifice, it is calibration. There is a quiet story of a traveler who crossed many villages carrying a small pouch of grain. In each place, he left a portion at a doorway before dawn. He never stayed to be thanked. He never returned to see the result. Years later, when famine spread, every village he had passed through opened its stores to him. None recognized his face, yet all recognized his frequency. Giving done in silence teaches the inner world that supply is not fragile. This lesson cannot be learned through accumulation. It is learned through release. This chapter invites you into a private practice of energetic generosity. Begin by noticing where your sense of lack hides. It may appear as caution, as holding, as hesitation to share time, attention, resources, or kindness. Do not judge it. Scarcity learned early is not a failure, it is a signal. Silent giving does not require excess, it requires intention. Choose one form of giving that can be done without recognition. It may be material, but it may also be invisible. Examples may include anonymous support, unnoticed service, silent prayer, unseen assistance, or leaving something better than you found it without claiming credit. The form is secondary. The secrecy is essential. Select one act of silent giving to perform regularly, not sporadically. Rhythm teaches trust. Before you give, pause briefly. Bring awareness to the body. Notice any tightening, any expectation, any desire to be seen, even internally. Let it soften. Then give. Do not bless the act with words. Do not attach meaning. Simply release. Afterward, do not monitor outcomes. Silent giving loses potency when tracked. This practice works not because the universe keeps score, but because you are training yourself to live from overflow before evidence appears. The inner world responds by reorganizing around sufficiency. There is an alchemical shift that occurs when giving is done in silence. Identity changes again, without effort. You begin to experience yourself as a source rather than a seeker. This is not belief, it is sensation. The nervous system relaxes. The future feels less urgent. Decision-making becomes cleaner. Opportunities recognize this coherence. You may notice resistance at first. Thoughts such as, I need this. What if I run out? Why should I give when I am still building? These thoughts are not obstacles. They are indicators of where abundance work is most effective. Continue anyway, gently, without drama. Ancient texts speak of hands that release and are immediately filled. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is energetic law. Space invites movement. Clinched systems stagnate. Silent giving also protects what you are building. Envy cannot attach to what is unknown. Comparison cannot distort what is unseen. This chapter includes a sealing ritual. After completing an act of silent giving, take one quiet breath. Place awareness in the center of the chest. Sense the openness created, not pride, not loss. Openness. Inwardly acknowledge this sensation once, then let it fade. Never speak of your silent giving, not even to yourself in thought. The moment it becomes narrative, it becomes public. If you feel compelled to tell someone, pause. That impulse often signals the ego seeking balance. Return to silence. Balance will restore itself. Over time, you may notice subtle returns, not always in the same form, not always immediately. A conversation opens, a delay resolves, a resource appears without effort. Receive these without analysis. Gratitude is allowed, storytelling is not. The traveler never expected repayment. He traveled light. That lightness made him welcome everywhere. Silent giving trains you to trust circulation without control. This principle prepares you for deeper solitude, which comes next. Giving loosens attachment. Solitude requires it. Close this chapter by sitting quietly for a moment. Feel your breath. Feel your body. Let the idea of having enough settle without proof. Then release the thought entirely. Silence does not keep score. Silence keeps balance.
You cross now into a chamber few are willing to enter, not because it is difficult, but because it is quiet. The fourth principle of the law of silent abundance is ritualized solitude. Solitude is not absence of others, it is presence with yourself without interference. When chosen deliberately, solitude becomes a vessel. Within it, intention condenses, insight sharpens, energy returns to its source. Most people fear solitude because it removes distraction. What remains feels unfamiliar at first, yet abundance requires this familiarity. You cannot hear subtle guidance in crowded inner spaces. Ancient traditions did not treat solitude as retreat from life, they treated it as preparation for it. The hermit left the village not to escape responsibility, but to refine vision. When he returned, his presence carried weight without effort. Ritualized solitude differs from isolation. Isolation contracts. Ritualized solitude expands. The difference is intention and structure. This chapter invites you to establish a sacred appointment with yourself. Choose a consistent time for solitude. Consistency matters more than duration. Even a short period becomes potent when protected. Early morning holds fewer imprints. Late night carries less noise. Choose what feels naturally quiet. Designate a space. It need not be elaborate. It must feel undisturbed. This space becomes symbolic. When you enter it, the inner world follows. Before entering, leave behind all devices and distractions. Solitude cannot compete with constant input. This is not deprivation, it is respect. When you arrive in the space, sit comfortably. Allow the body to settle. Do not attempt to meditate in a formal sense. Simply be. Let thoughts rise and pass without engagement. You are not here to solve anything. You are here to listen beneath thought. As minutes pass, a subtle shift occurs. The nervous system begins to unwind. Breath deepens naturally. Awareness widens. This is the threshold. Within this quiet, bring attention to the sense of being supported by life itself, not intellectually, sensationally. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the air around you. These are not passive elements. They are evidence of provision. Abundance responds to those who recognize support before proof appears. There is a story of an ancient calligrapher who practiced alone for years. He wrote the same character each day. He did not seek mastery, he sought alignment. One day the brush moved without effort. The character wrote itself. From that moment, his work carried spirit. People felt it without knowing why. Solitude creates this condition. During your time alone, resist the urge to plan. Planning pulls energy forward. This practice draws energy inward. If emotions surface, allow them. Solitude reveals what noise conceals. This is not regression, it is clearing. If stillness deepens, rest there. Stillness is not emptiness, it is fullness without form. You may receive insights, do not grasp them, let them pass. Insights that matter return on their own. End each solitude session gently. Before leaving the space, take one slow breath. Acknowledge inwardly that this time was sufficient. Sufficiency is a key frequency. Carry the residue of solitude into the day without defending it. Speak less, move with ease, let others remain unaware. This protects the work. Ritualized solitude trains the inner ear. Over time, you will sense timing more clearly, when to act, when to wait, when to release. This sensitivity cannot be taught through effort, it emerges through quiet. There is also a protective aspect. Solitude strengthens boundaries without rigidity. You become less reactive. External doubt loses access. The world often equates solitude with lack. Ancient wisdom knows it as wealth. Kings sought it, mystics guarded it, alchemists required it. This chapter includes a closing ritual. After your solitude practice, place your hand briefly on the heart or lower abdomen. Choose what feels grounding. Feel gratitude without words. Let it be a sensation, not a statement. Then re-enter the world slowly. Do not explain what you are doing to anyone. Do not seek confirmation. Solitude loses power when justified. Over time, you may notice your need for external reassurance diminishing. Decisions feel cleaner. Desires feel calmer. Abundance begins to approach you rather than being chased. The calligrapher never announced his mastery. His work spoke quietly for him. Solitude does not separate you from life. It roots you more deeply within it. Close this chamber by remembering this truth. What grows in quiet develops strength that noise cannot fracture. You move now into a chamber governed by rhythm. Here, nothing is rushed, nothing is forced. Everything arrives when the inner field is ready to receive it. The fifth principle of the law of silent abundance is sacred timing. Abundance does not respond to urgency, it responds to readiness. What arrives before you can hold it destabilizes. What arrives after readiness multiplies with ease. Sacred timing is not delay, it is precision. Most suffering around prosperity comes from impatience disguised as effort. The desire to accelerate outcomes often fractures alignment. Ancient wisdom teaches that timing is intelligence, not obstacle. There is an old account of a bell maker who lived near a monastery. He was asked to cast a bell that would carry a tone pure enough to call monks from deep meditation. He refused many times. He waited through seasons. When questioned, he said the metal was not yet listening. Years later, he cast the bell in silence. When struck, its sound stilled the valley. Timing had done what skill alone could not. Sacred timing is cooperation with unseen order. This chapter invites you to release the habit of forcing outcomes and enter attunement with natural unfolding. Begin by noticing where impatience lives in your body. It often appears as tension in the chest, tightening in the jaw, or restlessness in the limbs. Do not attempt to remove it, simply notice it. Impatience is not wrong, it is energy seeking direction. Now bring attention to areas of your life where you feel pressure to arrive: wealth, recognition, stability, clarity. Notice the subtle demand behind the desire. This demand signals misalignment with timing. Sacred timing requires trust, not passivity. Trust is active attunement. To practice this principle, you will work with pause. Choose one decision or desire you have been pushing toward resolution. Do not abandon it, instead suspend urgency around it. This is different from giving up. It is loosening grip. Each day, when the desire arises, place one hand on the body where tension appears. Breathe slowly. Inwardly acknowledge that timing is working even when unseen. Then release the thought completely. This may feel uncomfortable at first. Control resists surrender. Stay gentle. Ancient practitioners believed that the universe organizes outcomes through resonance. When you align with the correct timing, movement occurs without strain. You may notice that when urgency drops, clarity rises, information appears, obstacles dissolve without effort. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. There is also a protective aspect to sacred timing. What arrives too early attracts doubt, interference, and depletion. What arrives in season integrates smoothly. You are invited into a timing ritual. Choose a quiet moment. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Let the breath slow. Visualize a seed in dark soil. It does not know the calendar. It responds to warmth, moisture, and readiness. See the seed resting without anxiety. Feel the patience inherent in nature. Now place your desire beside the seed, not inside it, beside it. This distinction matters. Desire is not the source, you are. See both resting in the same soil of trust. Sit with this image until the body softens. This practice teaches the nervous system that waiting is not stagnation, it is preparation. Sacred timing also involves restraint in speech. Speaking plans prematurely invites external clocks. Other people's expectations create pressure. Pressure distorts rhythm. You are encouraged to keep emerging desires private. Let them mature without commentary. There is a story of a river that flowed through a canyon. Travelers tried to measure its speed. Some said it moved slowly, others said it rushed. The river did not respond. It arrived at the sea precisely when it did. Timing belonged to the river alone. Your path carries its own rhythm. When you trust timing, you conserve energy. Energy conserved becomes power. Power attracts opportunity without pursuit. You may notice moments when action feels suddenly effortless. A conversation opens, a door appears. These moments are invitations. Move then. Sacred timing includes decisive action when alignment calls. This principle teaches discernment. Not everything that can be done should be done now. Not every opportunity is aligned. Through patience, you learn when to step forward and when to remain still. This chapter includes a closing practice. At the end of each day, reflect briefly on moments where you allowed timing to lead. It may be small, a pause before responding, a delay before deciding, a moment of restraint. Acknowledge it silently. Then release the day. Do not review missed opportunities. Regret is a form of impatience directed backward. Timing corrects itself without punishment. Over time, you will sense an internal metronome. Decisions feel right without justification. Waiting feels purposeful rather than empty. The bellmaker never rushed the metal. He listened until it was ready to become sound. Sacred timing teaches you to listen before acting, to trust before seeing, to rest before receiving. Abundance that arrives in its own time stays. Let this principle settle quietly within you.
You enter now a chamber that teaches protection without defense. What you have begun to cultivate has weight. Identity has shifted. Action has been sealed. Giving has opened flow. Solitude has refined perception. Timing has aligned movement. With growth comes sensitivity. Sensitivity requires protection. The sixth principle of the law of silent abundance is protection from external doubt. Doubt is not always hostile. Often it is unconscious. It arrives through questions, opinions, concern, advice, and curiosity. Even well-meaning voices can fracture what is still forming. The unseen responds to coherence. Coherence weakens when exposed too early. Ancient teachings warned initiates not of enemies, but of listeners. What is shared prematurely becomes shaped by others' expectations. Expectation introduces distortion. There is an old account of a young mystic who received a vision of great work. Filled with awe, he spoke of it openly. Each time he explained it, the vision dimmed. Confusion entered. He returned to his teacher and asked why the light was fading. The teacher said, "You let others breathe on the flame before it learned how to stand on its own." Protection is not secrecy born of fear. It is containment born of wisdom. This chapter invites you to learn energetic boundaries that do not require explanation. Begin by noticing how doubt enters your field. It may come as someone questioning your pace, someone suggesting alternatives, someone expressing concern, or even your own impulse to seek reassurance. Notice the sensation in the body when this occurs. Often it is contraction, a need to justify, a sudden urgency to explain. This is the signal. The law of silent abundance teaches that what requires defense is not yet rooted. Roots form in darkness. You are not asked to withdraw from others. You are asked to stop offering your inner work for inspection. Protection begins with restraint in speech. Choose now one area of your life where you will no longer explain your intentions, not because you are hiding, but because you are incubating. Silence is an active boundary. When asked, respond simply. Neutral words, no elaboration, no narrative. This conserves energy. There is power in under-explanation. You may feel discomfort at first. The mind equates explanation with safety. Over time, you will feel relief. Energy returns inward. Alignment stabilizes. Protection also involves inner boundaries. Notice when doubt arises internally after external interaction. Thoughts such as, maybe they are right, maybe this is unrealistic, maybe I should change course. These thoughts are echoes, they are not guidance. When this occurs, return to the body. Place awareness in the feet. Feel contact with the ground. Grounding restores sovereignty. Then, inwardly, reaffirm your chosen identity from the first chapter. Do not argue with doubt. Do not analyze it. Simply return to what you have assumed. Doubt dissolves when it is not fed. There is a subtle practice you are invited to adopt. Before entering environments heavy with opinion, silently prepare. Take one breath. Inwardly state, "What belongs to me remains with me." This is not a command, it is orientation. After leaving such environments, cleanse gently. This may be done through breath, movement, or quiet reflection. Do not carry residue. Ancient practitioners bathed not only to clean the body, but to release energy picked up from others. Water has always been used as a boundary restorer. Even washing hands with awareness can reset the field. Protection is also strengthened through consistency in ritual. The practices you have adopted create a stable inner structure. Stability repels interference naturally. You do not need to correct others. You do not need to convince. Correction invites engagement. Engagement disperses energy. There is a story of a watchmaker who built mechanisms so precise that timekeepers traveled to see his work. He spoke little. When questioned, he smiled and returned to his bench. His silence protected the integrity of his craft. His work endured longer than those who explained every step. Protection allows work to mature beyond fragility. This chapter includes a sealing practice. At the end of each day, sit quietly for a moment. Review interactions without judgment. Notice where energy felt stable. Notice where it felt disturbed. Do not assign blame, simply notice. Then, imagine gathering your energy back into the center of your body, like drawing scattered threads inward. Feel it settle. This takes only moments. Once complete, release the image. This practice teaches the system that energy is retrievable. Nothing is permanently lost. Over time, you will notice fewer impulses to share prematurely, fewer reactions to doubt, a quiet confidence that does not require defense. Others may sense this. They may comment on your calm. Do not explain it. Protection does not isolate you. It preserves you. The flame that learns to stand in still air will not fear wind later. You are learning to hold your inner work without exposure. This allows abundance to form structure rather than scatter. Silence is not withdrawal, it is containment.
You enter now a chamber where effort dissolves into embodiment. Here, abundance no longer feels like something you pursue. It begins to feel like something you inhabit. The seventh principle of the law of silent abundance is assumed identity made permanent. Earlier, you selected an identity quietly. You wore it. You practiced it. Now, the work is to let it become unquestioned. What is questioned remains unstable. What is assumed settles into form. The universe responds to what you take for granted. Most people attempt to manifest while still negotiating with themselves. They say, I am becoming, I am working toward, I am hoping to be. These phrases keep identity in motion. Motion delays arrival. Ancient teachings reveal a simpler truth. What you live from consistently becomes real without debate. There is a story of a woman who was known in her village as the keeper of keys. She was not appointed. She did not ask. When doors failed to open, people came to her. She never explained how she knew which key to use. She simply assumed access. Over time, the role shaped itself around her assumption. Assumed identity operates without announcement. This chapter invites you to release the effort of becoming and step fully into being. Begin by noticing where you still perform your desired identity rather than live from it. Performance feels tense. Embodiment feels calm. Ask yourself quietly, where do I still check for proof? Where do I still seek permission? Where do I still explain? These questions are not meant to criticize. They reveal where identity has not yet stabilized. To assume an identity fully, you must stop rehearsing it. Choose one area of your life where you will behave as if your chosen identity is already true, not dramatically, not symbolically, practically. If your identity is one who is provided for, you may move with less urgency. You may choose quality over quantity. You may rest without guilt. If your identity is one whose work is valued, you may stop over-explaining. You may stop over-delivering. You may trust your contribution. If your identity is one who moves with divine timing, you may decline what feels rushed. You may wait without anxiety. These shifts are subtle. They are powerful. Assumed identity reveals itself through what you no longer do. You no longer seek validation. You no longer rush to prove. You no longer chase alignment. You recognize it. There is an inner stillness that accompanies true assumption. It is not excitement. It is certainty without emotion. Ancient mystics spoke of wearing the crown inwardly. No one saw it, yet all responded to it. This chapter includes a private embodiment ritual. Choose a quiet moment. Sit or stand comfortably. Close your eyes. Bring attention to the body. Feel its weight. Feel its presence. Let awareness fill the form. Now, bring to mind the identity you have been cultivating. Do not repeat words. Sense the state, the posture, the tone. Ask inwardly, how does this identity breathe? How does it move? How does it wait? Let the body answer. Adjust subtly, shoulders, jaw, spine, breath. Stay here until the body feels settled, ordinary, undramatic. This is embodiment. From this place, imagine moving through a typical day. Not the events, the orientation. See yourself responding without effort, speaking without justification, acting without urgency. Notice how little needs to change externally when identity is assumed internally. This practice rewires the relationship between self-concept and behavior. Over time, the mind stops questioning, the body leads. Assumed identity also restructures perception. Opportunities that once felt distant begin to feel familiar. You notice them sooner. You engage them naturally. There is no strain. Strain signals misalignment. You may encounter moments where old habits resurface, over-explanation, doubt, hesitation. Do not correct aggressively. Gently return to embodiment. Identity stabilizes through repetition, not force. There is a warning in ancient texts about announcing arrival. The moment you declare yourself, you invite comparison. Comparison fractures embodiment. Let others decide who you are. You do not need to tell them. The keeper of keys never said she was important. Importance followed her quiet assumption. This chapter also teaches restraint in visualization. Once identity is embodied, visualization becomes unnecessary. Visualization is a bridge. Assumption is the land. Use imagination only when returning to embodiment. Do not live in rehearsal. Live in presence. This is how abundance becomes sustainable. As identity stabilizes, you may notice external confirmation. Compliments, invitations, recognition. Receive them politely. Do not internalize them as proof. Proof creates dependence. Your certainty must remain inward. Close this chapter with a sealing gesture. Place one hand on the body where you feel most grounded. Breathe slowly once. Inwardly acknowledge, "This is who I am now." Do not repeat it. Do not revisit it. Let it become background truth. Background truths shape foreground reality. You are no longer practicing abundance. You are allowing it to express through you quietly. This prepares you for energetic multiplication, which follows.
You enter now a chamber where stillness begins to echo, not outwardly, inwardly. What has been assumed and embodied now begins to radiate, not as noise, as signal. The eighth principle of the law of silent abundance is energetic multiplication. This is the stage where effort becomes irrelevant. What multiplies now does so because the inner field has become coherent. When identity, action, giving, solitude, timing, protection, and embodiment align, energy amplifies itself without strain. Most people believe multiplication comes from doing more. Ancient wisdom teaches the opposite. Multiplication comes from leaking less. Energy multiplies when it is contained, refined, and undisturbed. There is an old account of a lens maker who worked in silence. He crafted lenses so clear they could gather faint light from distant stars. Others tried to copy his methods. They failed. What they did not know was that the clarity came not from technique alone, but from the quiet precision of his inner state. His hands reflected his mind reflected stillness. Light obeyed that coherence. Energetic multiplication begins when inner noise drops below a certain threshold. You may already sense this. Less urgency, fewer conflicting desires, a subtle feeling of being gathered within yourself. This gathering is not contraction, it is concentration. Abundance multiplies through concentration. This chapter invites you to stop chasing expansion and begin allowing amplification. Begin by noticing where your energy still scatters. This may show up as overthinking, multitasking, emotional reactions, or constant consumption of information. Scattering is not a failure, it is habit. Choose one form of energy leakage to reduce, not eliminate, reduce. It may be excessive talking, unnecessary scrolling, overcommitting, rehashing conversations, explaining yourself internally. Reducing leakage creates immediate surplus. Now bring awareness to the center of your body. Choose a place that feels stable. The lower abdomen or the center of the chest often respond well. This becomes your anchor. Throughout the day, when you notice energy scattering, gently return attention to the center. Do not force withdrawal. Simply regather. This is not meditation. This is containment. Ancient practitioners called this sealing the vessel. When the vessel is sealed, heat builds naturally. Transformation follows. Energetic multiplication does not feel dramatic. It feels dense, quiet, charged. You may notice fewer actions producing greater results. Conversations land more clearly. Decisions resolve faster. Resources align without pursuit. This is not luck. This is resonance. There is also a shift in how you receive. Receiving becomes neutral, neither exciting nor uncomfortable. Neutral reception allows flow to continue.
Many block abundance not by lack of effort, but emotional response to receiving. Surprise, guilt, suspicion. These reactions disrupt multiplication. Practice receiving quietly. When something beneficial arrives, pause internally. Breathe once. Allow it to settle without commentary. Do not rush to explain it away or amplify it emotionally. Neutrality is fertile ground. This chapter includes a private amplification ritual. Choose a quiet moment, sit comfortably, close your eyes. Bring awareness to your chosen center in the body. Feel it as a still point. Now imagine subtle warmth building there. Not heat, warmth, gentle, steady. With each breath, allow the warmth to increase slightly. Do not push, let it accumulate naturally. This warmth represents concentrated energy. After several minutes, imagine the warmth expanding slowly through the body, not outward into the world, through you. Let it fill the torso, the limbs, the head. Notice how calm increases as energy fills space. This is multiplication without force. End the practice by letting the warmth settle back into the center, sealed, contained. Carry this sensation into daily life. Over time, it becomes familiar. The body learns abundance as a state, not an event. Energetic multiplication also requires restraint in desire. Wanting too many outcomes fragments signal. Choose fewer intentions. Let them deepen. Ancient texts speak of one fire cooking many meals. Too many fires burn out quickly. Choose one primary direction for your prosperity. Let other desires rest. This does not limit abundance. It focuses it. You may notice that as energy multiplies, external opportunities increase. Not all should be accepted. Discernment preserves multiplication. Say no more often. Decline without explanation. Energy saved compounds. There is a story of a merchant who carried rare spices. He sold only to those who recognized quality. Others complained of scarcity. His wealth grew not through volume, but through selectivity. Energetic multiplication thrives on selectivity. This chapter also teaches inner stillness during movement. Even when active, maintain inner quiet. Movement without inner noise amplifies effectiveness. You are learning to do less internally while doing what is necessary externally. This is mastery. Close this chapter by sitting quietly for a moment. Feel the body. Feel the center. Notice the absence of urgency. Inwardly acknowledge, what is aligned multiplies itself. Do not repeat the phrase, let the sensation speak. You have now crossed into a phase where abundance sustains itself when left undisturbed. The next chamber will teach how to integrate these principles into daily life without ritual fatigue.
You enter now a chamber where the sacred meets the ordinary. What you have cultivated no longer belongs only to quiet rooms or intentional moments. It must now learn how to live within the rhythms of daily life without losing its depth. Abundance that cannot integrate becomes fragile. Abundance that integrates becomes enduring. The ninth principle of the law of silent abundance is integration through subtle ritual. Ritual is not ceremony alone. Ritual is attention applied consistently. When sacred orientation enters ordinary movement, life itself becomes the practice. This is how prosperity remains stable without constant effort. Ancient practitioners did not separate the sacred from the practical. Preparing food, cleaning tools, walking paths, and arranging space were all done with quiet precision. This precision was not obsession, it was respect. Integration prevents burnout. When practices remain isolated, they feel heavy. When they are woven into daily routines, they feel natural. This chapter invites you to dissolve the boundary between spiritual work and living. Begin by observing your daily movements, how you wake, how you prepare, how you transition between activities. These moments are often unconscious, they are also powerful. Choose one daily routine that you already perform. It may be preparing a drink, washing, organizing, or entering a workspace. This routine becomes a carrier for quiet intention. Before performing it, pause briefly. One breath is enough. Bring awareness to the body. Feel presence. Then perform the routine slowly, not exaggerated, simply attentive. Do not add affirmations, do not visualize outcomes.
Let attention itself be the ritual. Attention is currency. When attention is applied consistently, it signals value. What you treat with value responds with support. Over time, this simple practice stabilizes the nervous system. Calm becomes default. Decisions feel less charged. Abundance flows through a relaxed system more easily than through a tense one. Integration also involves releasing the need to constantly improve yourself. Improvement implies lack. Refinement implies respect for what already exists. Notice where you push yourself unnecessarily, where you add effort without benefit. Integration asks you to soften these areas. There is an old account of a potter who shaped vessels daily. He did not rush, he did not perfect each piece, he maintained rhythm. Over years, his work carried balance. Buyers felt it without knowing why. Consistency carries spirit. This chapter also teaches micro-rituals, small acts that anchor alignment without disruption. Examples may arise naturally: pausing before opening a door, standing still for a breath before speaking, touching the ground briefly before beginning work. These are not superstitions, they are resets. Micro-rituals prevent energy scatter. They remind the body of coherence. Integration requires humility. When practices become visible, the ego seeks recognition. Keep rituals subtle, invisible, ordinary. If someone notices and asks, respond simply. Do not explain meaning. Meaning shared too freely dissolves potency. Integration also means allowing periods of rest without guilt. Rest is not interruption, it is absorption. After periods of growth, the system needs stillness to reorganize. Honor this rhythm. There is a tendency to abandon practices once results appear. This destabilizes the field. Continue gently, without attachment to outcome. The law of silent abundance teaches that maintenance is sacred. This chapter includes a daily integration practice. At the end of each day, choose one moment that felt calm, aligned, or sufficient. It may be small. Recall it briefly. Do not analyze why it felt good, simply acknowledge it. Then release the day. This trains perception to recognize abundance in simplicity. Recognition stabilizes it. Integration also involves language restraint. Notice how you speak about your life internally. Reduce commentary, reduce judgment. Let experience stand without narration. Narration fragments presence. You may notice that as integration deepens, life feels quieter internally even when active externally. This quiet is not emptiness, it is fullness without noise. External challenges may still arise. Integration does not remove contrast, it changes your relationship to it. When challenges appear, respond practically, without spiritual dramatization, without self-questioning. Calm response preserves alignment. There is wisdom in ancient households where daily tasks were done with care. Prosperity grew quietly over generations, not through ambition, but through steadiness. Integration is how abundance becomes legacy rather than event. This chapter also teaches moderation in seeking new practices. What you have is sufficient. Adding more disperses focus. Depth over novelty. If curiosity arises, note it. Do not act immediately. Let timing guide expansion. You are learning to live from the center rather than visiting it. Close this chapter with a simple gesture. Before sleeping, place one hand on the body. Breathe slowly once. Acknowledge inwardly that the day was enough. Then release all effort. Integration is the art of allowing the sacred to become ordinary without losing its essence. What you live quietly becomes who you are. The next chamber will address legacy and transmission, how abundance moves beyond the self without exposure or dilution.
You step now into a chamber that looks beyond the self, not outward into display, inward into continuity. The 10th principle of the law of silent abundance is legacy through quiet transmission. True prosperity is never meant to terminate in one life, one body, or one moment. It is meant to move forward without announcement, to pass through time without distortion, to be carried without being named. Legacy in this teaching is not inheritance of objects, it is inheritance of orientation. Ancient lineages understood this deeply. They did not pass teachings through proclamation, they passed them through presence, through tone, through the way one moved, waited, spoke, and withheld. What you embody teaches more than what you explain.
This chapter invites you to consider how abundance moves beyond you without exposure, instruction, or performance. Begin by releasing the idea that you must teach anyone. Teaching implies authority. Authority invites resistance. Transmission requires only coherence. When your inner state stabilizes, others feel it, not consciously. Nervous systems communicate before language. Fields recognize fields. You do not need to shape others. You need to remain aligned. There is an old story of a woman who kept a fire burning in her home. She never spoke of it. She never invited others to tend it. Yet travelers rested near her dwelling and felt renewed. The fire warmed without explanation. Legacy begins with containment. Notice how others respond to you now compared to before. Perhaps conversations feel calmer. Perhaps presence feels steadier. Perhaps less is demanded of you. These shifts are not accidents. They are signals of transmission. Transmission occurs through consistency. If you live from sufficiency, others feel less urgency around you. If you move with timing, others slow without instruction. If you act without seeking recognition, others feel less pressure to perform. This is how abundance teaches quietly. You are invited now to practice non-interference. When others struggle, resist the urge to fix. Fixing positions you above. Presence positions you beside. Presence transmits stability. Listen without shaping. Respond without correcting. Offer support without explanation. This does not mean withholding compassion. It means trusting coherence to do its work. Ancient mentors often taught by silence. Students learned through observation. Observation bypasses resistance. Legacy also involves restraint in sharing your practices. What you have cultivated is not meant to be replicated by instruction. Each person has their own rhythm. Sharing techniques too freely invites imitation without understanding. Let curiosity arise naturally in others. Even then, speak minimally. It is enough to live well. This chapter also addresses lineage beyond people. Your space carries imprint, how you arrange it, how you care for it, how you leave it. These choices transmit order. Your work carries imprint, how you begin, how you end, how you pause. These rhythms transmit value. Your time carries imprint, how you allocate it, how you protect it, how you release it. These choices transmit priority. Legacy is not future-oriented. It is present embodied. There is a quiet parable of a bridge builder who never signed his work. Generations crossed safely. His name was lost. His integrity remained. This is silent abundance moving through time. This chapter includes a legacy ritual. Choose one object you interact with daily. It may be a tool, a surface, a garment, or a space. Treat it with deliberate care, not perfection, care. Clean it slowly, arrange it simply, maintain it consistently. As you do, bring awareness to continuity. This object will outlast this moment. It carries imprint. Do not attach meaning. Let care itself be the message. This practice trains respect for continuity without attachment. Legacy also requires humility. The desire to be remembered often distorts action. When legacy is sought, it collapses. When legacy is lived, it persists. Release the need to know how your life will be perceived. Perception is not your domain. Your task is alignment. You may notice a quiet shift as this principle integrates. Less concern with outcome, less concern with visibility, more attention to quality. Quality endures. Transmission also occurs inwardly. The way you speak to yourself becomes internal legacy. Soften inner language, reduce judgment. This shapes future states. Speak inwardly as you would to someone you are preparing to outlive you, with respect, with patience. This is stewardship of self. The law of silent abundance teaches that what is protected multiplies, what is embodied transmits, what is quiet endures. You are not meant to carry this work forward through instruction. You are meant to live it so fully that it becomes ordinary. Ordinariness is the highest form of integration. Close this chapter by sitting quietly. Feel your breath. Feel your weight. Sense yourself as part of a longer continuity. Inwardly acknowledge that what you are cultivating is not only for you. Then release the thought. Legacy moves best when unobserved. The next chamber will guide you through renewal, how to return to silence when cycles complete and new ones prepare to begin.
You enter now a chamber of renewal. This is not a beginning and not an ending. It is a return. Cycles complete quietly. New ones form in the same way. Abundance that lasts knows how to close doors without noise and open new ones without force. The 11th principle of the law of silent abundance is conscious withdrawal and renewal. Expansion requires contraction. Growth requires rest. What never withdraws exhausts itself. Ancient wisdom treated withdrawal as intelligence, not failure. There is a quiet story of a moon watcher who lived near the sea. He observed tides for years. He noticed that the water did not only advance, it retreated. The retreat was not loss, it was preparation. Without retreat, the sea would flood the land and destroy what it meant to nourish. Renewal follows the same law. This chapter invites you to recognize when a cycle is complete and to withdraw attention without regret. Begin by noticing where effort feels heavy, where repetition no longer deepens, where practices feel mechanical rather than alive. These are signs of completion. Completion does not mean error, it means maturation. Most people cling to cycles out of fear of losing progress, fear of emptiness, fear that rest will undo what was built. The law of silent abundance teaches the opposite. Rest consolidates what effort creates. You are invited to practice deliberate withdrawal. Choose one activity, practice, or focus that has served you well but now feels dense. Do not abandon it abruptly. Reduce it gently. Give yourself permission to step back without explanation. No justification is required. As you withdraw, notice the body. Often there is relief. That relief is guidance. Withdrawal creates space. Space invites renewal. Ancient practitioners scheduled periods of silence not because they lacked purpose, but because purpose requires renewal. Without silence, intention decays into habit. This chapter also teaches fasting of attention. Attention is nourishment. What you stop feeding weakens. What you rest from recalibrates. Choose one source of input to reduce. It may be information, conversation, or stimulation. Reducing is enough. Elimination is not required. Notice how clarity increases when input decreases. Renewal also involves releasing attachment to identity expressions that no longer fit. Identity evolves. What once aligned may now constrain. This does not erase previous embodiment, it builds upon it. Allow identity to soften. Do not define yourself too tightly. Rigidity blocks renewal. There is an old account of a craftsman who changed tools each season, not because the old tools failed, but because seasons demanded different grip. His skill remained, his form adapted. Renewal honors continuity through change. This chapter invites you into a renewal ritual. Choose a quiet time, sit comfortably, close your eyes. Let the breath slow. Bring to mind the cycle you sense is completing. Do not label it as good or bad, simply recognize it. Now imagine placing it gently on the ground, not discarding it, resting it. Feel the space created within you. Do not fill it.
Sit with the emptiness briefly. Emptiness is not absence, it is readiness. Notice any impulse to rush towards something new. Let it pass. Renewal occurs when emptiness is allowed to remain. After several minutes, bring attention back to the body. Feel grounded. Feel present. This practice trains trust in cycles. Renewal also requires forgiveness. Forgiveness of past urgency. Forgiveness of misalignment. Forgiveness of self. Carry no regret forward. Regret anchors attention backward. Renewal requires forward openness without projection. You may notice that after withdrawal, insights arise naturally, not forced, not sought. These insights belong to the next cycle. Receive them lightly. Do not act immediately. Let them settle. There is a rhythm to renewal: withdrawal, stillness, emergence, movement. Each phase must be honored. Skipping stillness weakens emergence. This principle protects you from burnout disguised as devotion. Devotion that ignores the body eventually collapses. Honor the body as part of abundance. Rested systems receive more accurately. Renewal also involves recalibrating desire. Some desires fall away, others refine. Let this occur without interference. You do not need to know what comes next to allow renewal. The moon watcher never rushed the tide. He trusted the pull he did not control. As renewal integrates, you may feel quieter, less driven, more attuned. This is not stagnation. It is alignment resetting. External activity may slow temporarily. Do not interpret this as loss. It is integration. This chapter includes a closing practice. At the end of a day, when you feel completion, place one hand on the body. Breathe slowly. Inwardly acknowledge that rest is productive. Then sleep without agenda. Renewal often occurs beyond conscious awareness. You are learning to honor endings without fear and beginnings without urgency. This is mastery of cycles. The law of silent abundance teaches that silence is not only where things begin, it is also where they rest before returning renewed. You have now learned how to close a cycle without collapse. The next chamber will guide you into deep trust, how to remain anchored when uncertainty appears and outcomes are not visible.
You enter now a chamber where certainty is no longer borrowed from outcomes. Here, nothing reassures you from the outside. No sign appears on command. No proof arrives on schedule. Yet something within you remains steady. This steadiness is not optimism. It is trust without condition. The 12th principle of the law of silent abundance is anchoring in uncertainty. True abundance does not depend on predictable environments. It stabilizes precisely where outcomes are unclear. When certainty depends on evidence, it collapses under change. When certainty rests inwardly, it remains intact regardless of circumstance. Ancient wisdom never promised clarity at all times. It promised orientation. Orientation allows movement even in fog. There is a quiet account of a traveler who crossed deserts without maps. He did not wander aimlessly. He followed internal markers. The stars when visible, the wind when not. His trust was not in conditions, it was in his ability to respond. Uncertainty is not absence of guidance, it is absence of control. This chapter invites you to release the need for reassurance and develop inner anchoring. Begin by noticing how you react when you do not know what comes next. The body often responds first, tightening, speeding thoughts, urgency to decide. These reactions are learned, not inherent. Uncertainty becomes threatening only when identity depends on outcome. You have already cultivated identity, containment, timing, and embodiment. Now you learn to remain centered when the future is quiet.
Choose one area of your life where clarity is currently absent. Do not analyze it, simply acknowledge it. Notice the impulse to resolve it immediately. This impulse is not guidance, it is discomfort seeking relief. Instead of acting, anchor. Anchoring is not freezing, it is settling inwardly while remaining responsive. To practice this, bring attention to the body. Choose a grounding point, feet on the floor, weight in the hips, breath in the abdomen. Stay with sensation rather than thought. As thoughts about the unknown arise, do not suppress them. Let them pass without engagement. Engagement feeds instability. Anchoring teaches the nervous system that uncertainty does not equal danger. Ancient initiates were trained to sit in darkness without interpretation. Darkness sharpened perception. Light returned on its own. This chapter also teaches delayed meaning. Not everything needs to be understood immediately. Meaning arrives after integration. Forcing understanding too early creates distortion. Practice allowing events to remain unexplained. When something unexpected occurs, resist narrative, resist labeling. Experience first, understanding later. This restraint conserves energy. There is a subtle freedom in not knowing. Not knowing opens perception. Knowing closes it. Abundance thrives in openness. This does not mean abandoning discernment. It means allowing discernment to arise naturally rather than forcing it. You are invited into a trust ritual. Choose a quiet moment. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Bring to mind the area of uncertainty you identified. Do not visualize resolution. Simply hold awareness of the unknown. Now bring attention to the body. Notice that you are still breathing, still supported, still present. Let this realization deepen. Life continues even when answers do not. Stay here until the body softens. This practice teaches the system that safety is internal. Trust in this teaching is not belief that things will work out. It is confidence in your capacity to respond when they unfold. This distinction is essential. Belief seeks comfort. Capacity creates stability. Over time, anchoring in uncertainty produces a calm resilience. You stop reacting prematurely. You stop chasing reassurance. You wait without tension. This waiting is active. It sharpens listening. You may notice subtle cues appearing. Timing becomes clearer. Action presents itself naturally. You move when movement aligns. There is no rush. The traveler did not move constantly. He paused often. Listening informed direction. Anchoring also protects abundance during transition. Many lose what they have built during uncertain periods by acting from fear. Fear leaks energy. Staying anchored preserves coherence. This chapter includes a daily anchoring practice. When uncertainty arises during the day, pause briefly. Feel the body. Name nothing. Decide nothing. Wait for one full breath. Then proceed with what is immediately necessary only. Do not solve the future. This practice prevents spirals. Anchoring also refines intuition. Intuition speaks softly. Noise drowns it. As you become comfortable with not knowing, intuition becomes audible. This is not mystical, it is neurological. Calm states access deeper processing. Ancient texts describe this as listening beneath the mind. Anchoring in uncertainty also dissolves desperation. Desperation repels support. Calm attracts it. Others may sense your steadiness. They may lean toward you without knowing why. This is not your responsibility. Maintain boundaries. Your task is not to stabilize others. It is to remain stable yourself. Stability transmits without effort. There is a warning in this chamber. Do not mistake anchoring for indifference. You still care. You still act when called. You simply do not force. Care without urgency is powerful. Close this chapter by acknowledging inwardly that not knowing is allowed. Sit quietly for a moment. Feel your breath. Feel your weight. Let uncertainty remain unfilled. Then return to your life without seeking resolution. Resolution will arrive when coherence calls it forward. The law of silent abundance teaches that silence is strongest when answers have not yet formed. You are learning to remain whole in the space between. The next chamber will guide you into surrender beyond effort, where abundance is no longer practiced, but trusted completely.
You enter now a chamber where effort finally loosens its grip. Here, even discipline softens, even structure relaxes. What remains is not collapse, but trust that no longer requires reinforcement. The 13th principle of the law of silent abundance is surrender beyond effort. This is not surrender as resignation. It is surrender as completion. Effort has done its work. Alignment has stabilized. Now abundance is allowed to move without supervision. Most people misunderstand surrender. They imagine giving up responsibility. Ancient wisdom speaks of a deeper release, the release of micromanagement, the release of constant inner correction, the release of believing that vigilance creates safety. True surrender occurs only after coherence has been built. Otherwise, it becomes avoidance. You have built coherence. Now you step aside without leaving. There is a quiet story of a master boat builder who trained apprentices for years. He watched them struggle, correct, and refine. One day, he stopped correcting. The apprentices panicked. Mistakes appeared briefly. Then something settled. Skill emerged unprompted. The master had not abandoned them. He had trusted what was formed. Surrender allows what is formed to operate. This chapter invites you to stop tightening around your practices and let them live through you. Begin by noticing where you still monitor yourself excessively, where you check alignment, where you question whether you are doing it right. These habits once served structure. Now they create tension. You are invited to release self-surveillance. Choose one practice you have been maintaining. It may be solitude, restraint, embodiment, or silence. Perform it without evaluation. Do not ask if it worked. Do not review afterward. Simply do it and move on. This simplicity is surrender. Surrender also means allowing fluctuation without panic. Some days feel aligned, others feel dull. This variation does not signal loss, it signals integration. Integration is uneven. Ancient teachings describe this phase as letting the fruit ripen without touching it. Touch bruises what is not yet ready. You may notice a temptation to intensify when things feel quiet, to add more practice, more effort. Resist this impulse. Quiet is not stagnation. Quiet is stability. This chapter also addresses the fear of losing what you have cultivated. Loss anxiety is subtle. It hides in vigilance. It says, if I stop paying attention, this will disappear. Abundance that requires constant guarding is not stable. Abundance that remains when attention relaxes is real. Test this gently. Allow one day where you do not consciously engage any practice. Live normally. Simply remain respectful. Notice that nothing collapses. This builds trust. There is an old account of a musician who practiced obsessively. His teacher eventually took his instrument away for a season. When it was returned, the music was deeper. What had been internalized remained. Surrender reveals what has become inherent. This chapter invites you into a surrender ritual. Choose a quiet moment. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Bring to mind all the practices you have engaged. Do not list them. Sense them as a field of effort and care. Now imagine gently stepping back from this field, not abandoning it, allowing it to operate without you hovering. Feel the relief in the body. Relief is the signal of correct surrender. Stay here briefly.
Then return to awareness of breath and body. This practice teaches the nervous system that safety does not require control. Surrender also changes how abundance arrives. It becomes less dramatic, more consistent, less surprising, more reliable. You may notice that you stop noticing it as much. This is a sign of integration. What feels miraculous at first becomes normal. This is not loss of gratitude, it is stabilization. Gratitude that remains quiet lasts longer. Surrender also dissolves comparison. When you are not monitoring progress, you stop measuring against others. Measurement leaks energy. Allow others to move at their pace. Your path no longer requires reference. There is a caution here. Do not announce surrender. Announcement turns release into performance. Surrender must be private. If someone asks what changed, respond simply, or not at all. Silence protects depth. As surrender deepens, you may feel a gentle confidence without edge, less desire to control outcomes, less need to predict. This is not passivity, it is readiness without tension. Action will still arise. When it does, it will feel clean, undramatic, appropriate. The master boat builder did not stop caring, he stopped interfering. This chapter includes a daily surrender cue. When you notice yourself tightening, mentally whisper inwardly, enough, not as command, as permission. Then release the tension. Do not analyze what happens next. Over time, surrender becomes default. You are no longer practicing abundance. You are no longer protecting it. You are no longer managing it. You are allowing it. Allowing is the final refinement of mastery. Close this chapter by sitting quietly. Feel your breath. Feel your body. Notice how much effort is no longer required. Let that realization settle without naming it. You are being carried now by what you built. The next chamber will guide you into sacred closure, how to seal this work so it continues without your attention and returns you fully to life with empowered silence.
You enter now a chamber of sealing. Nothing new is introduced here. What exists is gathered, quieted, and set into place so it may continue without supervision. This chamber does not add power, it preserves it. The 14th principle of the law of silent abundance is sacred closure. Closure is not an ending, it is containment after completion. What is left open leaks, what is sealed matures on its own. Ancient rites always included closure, not because the work was fragile, but because energy follows attention. When attention lingers unnecessarily, it interferes. When attention withdraws respectfully, the work stabilizes. You have cultivated identity. You have practiced action without witness. You have given in silence. You have entered solitude. You have trusted timing. You have protected coherence. You have embodied abundance. You have allowed it to multiply. You have transmitted it without instruction. You have renewed cycles. You have anchored in uncertainty. You have surrendered effort. Now the work must be sealed. This chapter invites you to stop engaging with the process itself. Most spiritual work fails not because it is weak, but because it is never closed. People keep checking, keep adjusting, keep revisiting. This reopens what was already complete. Closure is an act of trust. Begin by acknowledging inwardly that the work you have done is sufficient, not perfect, sufficient. Sufficiency is the signal for sealing. Notice any impulse to continue refining, to improve, to add, to revisit earlier stages. These impulses often arise from fear of loss. Recognize them without following them. You are not abandoning the work, you are allowing it to live. There is an old account of a weaver who finished a tapestry and covered it. Visitors asked why it was hidden. He said the pattern needs darkness to hold its shape. Exposure too soon weakens the threads. Your inner work now requires darkness. This does not mean secrecy as effort. It means non-engagement. Stop thinking about abundance as a project. Let it become background reality. This chapter includes a sealing ritual. Choose a quiet moment. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Bring awareness to your breath. Let it slow naturally. Now imagine all the work you have done not as steps or practices, but as a single field within you. Stable, quiet, self-sustaining. Do not examine it. Imagine placing a simple seal over this field. Not a symbol, not an image, just a sense of closure, like closing a door gently, knowing what is inside is complete. Feel the relief that follows. This relief is confirmation. Stay with the sensation briefly, then bring attention back to the body. Open your eyes slowly. This ritual teaches the system that it no longer needs to manage the process. Sealing also requires a shift in language. Stop referring to yourself as practicing or learning abundance. Those words imply incompletion. Let abundance become implicit. When thoughts about growth arise, let them pass. Growth continues without commentary. You may notice a subtle grief, a sense of leaving something behind. This is natural. The mind often bonds with processes. Thank the process inwardly, then release it. Gratitude allows closure without attachment. Sealing also protects you from spiritual restlessness. The impulse to seek endlessly often masks fear of settling. Settling is not stagnation, it is embodiment. Allow yourself to settle. From this point forward, return to the work only when life itself calls for renewal, not out of habit, not out of fear, out of alignment. Ancient teachings speak of the danger of unsealed rites. They leave the practitioner wandering between states. Sealing returns you fully to life. This chapter also teaches final restraint. Do not measure outcomes. Measurement reopens the field. Let outcomes arrive unnoticed. If something beneficial appears, receive it calmly. Do not attribute it to the work. Attribution binds energy to cause. Let cause dissolve. The universe does not require credit. You may notice that silence deepens after sealing. Less inner dialogue, less seeking, more presence. This is not emptiness, it is fullness integrated. There is a story of a monk who completed his training and returned to ordinary life. When asked what he gained, he said, "Nothing that can be carried, everything that carries me." This is sacred closure. It returns authority inward. This chapter includes a daily sealing reminder. When you catch yourself revisiting the work mentally, pause, take one breath, gently disengage. Return attention to what is directly in front of you, a task, a sensation, a moment. This keeps the seal intact. Over time, the work will express itself through your choices without your involvement. This is the highest form of mastery. You are not meant to hold this teaching in the foreground. You are meant to live from it without naming it. Close this chapter by sitting quietly for a moment. Feel the simplicity of being present. Feel the absence of effort. Let that be enough. The final chamber will guide you through return, how to re-enter life fully while carrying empowered silence that no longer seeks recognition.
You enter the final chamber without crossing a threshold. There is no door here, no boundary, only return. The 15th principle of the law of silent abundance is empowered silence in motion. This is not a teaching to be held. It is a way of moving. The work is complete because it no longer needs attention. What remains is not effort, not practice, not vigilance. What remains is orientation. You are returning now to life as it is, not elevated above it, not withdrawn from it, fully within it. The purpose of this path was never escape. It was coherence, to live among others without being shaped by noise, to act without urgency, to receive without disturbance, to give without depletion, to remain inwardly silent while outwardly present. This is empowered silence. Silence that does not hide, silence that does not resist, silence that does not need protection because it has become structure. There is an old account of a bell that rang only once each year. When it sounded, no one gathered, no ceremony followed. Yet the valley shifted. Crops grew evenly. Weather softened. No one spoke of the bell. Still, it continued to ring. This is how your inner work now functions. You are not asked to maintain awareness of it. You are asked to trust it. As you re-enter daily life fully, notice how little needs to be done. Conversations unfold without performance. Decisions arise without strain. Time feels less crowded. Desire feels less urgent. These are not goals achieved. They are byproducts of alignment. If moments of doubt appear, do not correct them. Let them pass like weather. Doubt no longer holds authority. If moments of ambition arise, let them refine naturally. Ambition without urgency becomes vision. Vision without noise becomes direction. If moments of restlessness arise, allow them. Restlessness now signals readiness for movement, not lack. You are not separate from the world. You are simply no longer pulled by it. Empowered silence allows you to be responsive without being reactive. It allows you to listen without absorbing. It allows you to move without scattering. There will be times when others seek explanation. You are not required to provide it. Presence will suffice. When words are needed, they will be simple. You may notice that fewer words are needed overall. Silence begins to speak for you. This is not withdrawal. This is authority without assertion. Return now to ordinary rhythms: work, rest, interaction, solitude. Let them alternate naturally. Do not spiritualize them. Let them be human. The law of silent abundance does not remove you from life. It roots you so deeply within it that life stops shaking you. Abundance will continue to arrive, sometimes visibly, sometimes quietly. Receive both the same way. Do not seek confirmation. Confirmation creates dependency. Trust that what was cultivated now sustains itself. If at any point you feel disconnected, return to the body. Breath, weight, sensation. These are the only anchors you will ever need. You are no longer an initiate. You are no longer practicing. You are simply living from a quieter center. This is the return. Not to who you were, but to who you always were beneath noise. Before closing, take one final moment. Sit or stand where you are. Feel the ground supporting you. Feel the breath moving without instruction. Notice that nothing is required. This is the seal that cannot be broken. Carry this silence into movement. Let it guide without speaking. Let it protect without effort. Let it multiply without display. All true abundance begins, grows, and multiplies in silence. You may now return fully to your life.